In this complete MERN Stack project tutorial, we are going to build and deploy a fully functioning social media application using the MERN Stack. That is MongoDB, ExpressJS, ReactJS, NodeJS, and we are going to use Cloudinary for our file storage. We are going to use Socket.io as well for our real-time communication. That is going to be for our chat system, which is going to be included in this entire social media application. And finally, once we are done with the application, we are actually going to deploy it and make it available on the internet, and we are going to host it on Hostinga. So without wasting any time, let me actually walk you through the finished project. To use the application, of course, you have to be registered. So once any user comes to the website, you have to go to the sign up page to actually register. Okay, so let's register Daniel Vignon, okay, who is not in the system. So let's have Daniel at Gmail, come on, gmail.com. And if I try registering without filling in the passwords, I get filling all fields. And these error messages are actually coming from the backend. Okay, so we're actually going to create everything by ourselves. Okay, we are not going to use any authentication or authorization system or service like Clerk or anything like that. We are going to make sure we create everything by ourselves. Okay, so let's go ahead and add some password for Daniel. So I'm going to do Daniel123 for the password, and for the confirm password, Daniel123. Now if I add 4 here, notice the passwords do not match. Okay, so if I try registering, I get passwords do not match. Okay, I can of course go ahead and show the passwords, and you can see that these two passwords do not match. Okay, so I'm going to remove the 4 here. And also if I go ahead to change the email to a user who is already registered with this email, let's see what happens. Okay, I have achiever@gmail.com already registered. So if I try registering, I get email already exists, right? But I do not have Daniel@gmail.com. So now, since we have valid info in all the fields, if I try registering, we are redirected to the sign-in page, meaning we were able to register an account. So let's go ahead and actually log in. Daniel@gmail.com, that's the email. And here too, of course, we have the check and making sure that we are not entering any empty fields. So let's add a password, and if I type a random password, of course, invalid credentials, right? And this is the password I just typed right here. So now Daniel123, that's the password we had for the sign up. So now I've been redirected to the main page or the home page, which means I have been able to actually sign in. All right, so here I can see that we have some suggested friends and all that, but let's go ahead and explore everything about the user first, and then we'll go on to actually create posts, message and bookmark and all that. Okay, so of course here in the profile page, this is the profile page. I have no following, I have no followers, and I can go ahead and actually have a bio. This is my bio, and I can actually go ahead and add an emoji here just for fun, and I can add something to the to the name, and I'm going to register or update rather. And you can see that Daniel Vignon has been updated. Okay, the bio here has been updated as well. Okay, now we can go ahead and actually follow some people. So I can go ahead and actually follow Sky Blue, and Sky Blue has been followed. I can actually click to go to the person's profile, and we have Agnes Asamoah. I can follow that person here, and we can actually unfollow as well if we want. We can message the person right here as well, but right now I just want to follow the person. Okay, we are going to explore the messaging system or the chat system as well later on, but yeah, that's it. Now let's go ahead and actually let me follow a couple of people as well. I'm going to follow Ernest Achiever, right? I'm going to follow Dinah Aye as well. Now back in the profile page, I can actually go ahead and update my profile picture. So I can just use anything for the profile picture, really. What can I really use here? I can use anything really. I'm going to use this guy as the profile. Actually, I'm going to use this person right here as the profile picture. So I'll just hit, and as you can see, that has been updated successfully. And so yeah, I think that's all for the profile page right now. Now let's go ahead and actually come back to the home page. Here we can, of course, we can be able to create posts, but first of all, let's go ahead and explore what we can do with others' posts. Of course, we can go ahead and like people's posts. Okay, so we have liked a post here, and we can actually go ahead and leave a comment. So we have a comment here, and since I'm the creator of the comments, I have this delete button here, and I can actually go ahead and delete this comment as well. Okay, so that has been deleted, and let's come back here. You can see we still have only the 3 comments. Right now, of course, I can bookmark some posts right here, and if I come to the bookmarks, you can see that this post has been bookmarked. Now I can unbookmark it or remove it from my bookmarks, and you can see it's been removed. Now if I come back, it is being removed from the bookmarks page as well. Now I can actually go ahead and search posts as well. Okay, so I can go ahead and search posts. I can search using the content. Okay, so I can just type anything. For instance, this post right here has foods in it. And so once I start typing, you can see that only this post shows up. Okay. And so there is a whole lot that you're going to learn in this project. Now let's go ahead and actually create, a post here. And I'll say, hi, I'm Daniel. And this is my first post. I'm going to choose an image for this post. I just use, what should I even use, man? Just use this orange, and I'll post, and we have our post. Okay, I can go ahead and like. You can see just 5-6 seconds ago, I can go ahead and actually leave a comment on my own post. This is my own comment on my own post. I can of course bookmark, and when I come to the bookmarks, I should have that. Okay, I can of course remove that from the bookmarks and actually remove the like as well, and as you can see, it is gone. Okay, there is no like. There is a comment, but there is no bookmark as well, or it is not being bookmarked. Okay, perfect. Okay, so let me actually go ahead and create another user so that we explore the the chat system as well. So I'm going to go ahead and register another user. I'm going to call this person BabyJet. So baby at Gmail, come on. So that will be 1 2 3 1 2 3. Let me make sure the passwords do match. And if you don't know baby yet, that is Asamoah. And so yeah, he's been registered in the system, so we can go ahead and log in at gmail.com. 1 2 3, that's password, and boom, it's been logged in. Okay, so here we can actually follow a few people here as well. Right, I can follow an achiever as well here, and it's been followed. I can actually remove some of these as well. Okay, if I want, I can change the theme as well. The primary color, I can change it, and this is actually going to persist in the local storage. Okay, so whenever I come back to the website or to the application, this theme that I chose is going to persist. It's going to be the same theme that remains here. Okay, I can change to a blue primary theme. Of course, I can change the background as well. So now we have a dark theme throughout the application. Okay, so let's go ahead and actually change the, let's change the thumbnail, the profile picture for Samojan or Baby Jet. And what even suits him here? I don't know, man. I think this guy looks like him, so let's choose that. And as you can see, we have the avatar or the profile picture for Baby Jet. All right, now what else do I need to do here? I just want to make sure I am showing you everything. I mean, I'm not going to be able to show you everything, but at least the main things. Now here we can actually filter the following. Okay, so we can click this to see only the people that we are following, their posts. Okay, the posts of the people we are following, and we can click this to fetch all posts on the or in the application. All right, now let's go ahead and actually create a post here, I think. Or would I be? I don't think that would be necessary. Okay, but yeah, I think that is it. Now let's see how the chat system also looks like. So I'm actually going to open another tab, and I'm going to log in as Daniel. Okay, I'm going to log in as Daniel at gmail.com. So Daniel 123, that was the password. We've been logged in, and Baby Jet is here, so I'm going to follow Baby Jet. And I can actually, you know what, let me go back to this, and I'm going to go ahead and go to Daniel's profile. I'm going to follow him. I do not have to follow him, but I'm just going to follow him. He has no followers, so I've given him a follower, and I'm going to message him. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and say, hi Daniel, and as you can see, we have hi Daniel. Okay, so I can tap this conversation and actually have some chat with Baby Jet right here. So hi Jet, and if I go ahead and submit this and we check, you can see that we have hi Jet. Okay, so we can go ahead. Wait a minute, do I have? Okay, so this actually, okay, so there's Daniel who is chatting Baby Jet, and there's Baby Jet chatting Daniel. Okay, so yeah, so we can go ahead and actually send more stuff. We can add emojis and all that, and I'm going to send, and once I hit it, you can see that comes instantly. Okay, so I'm going to type any gibberish here just so we see that this actually works, and this by using socket.io. Okay, so this also comes instantly, right? And I'm going to type in more text here, and once I hit enter, boom, that is here. Okay, so this is what we are going to build in this project, and I hope you are ready to learn. Now I'm going to log in as Achiever. Of course, I can log in as anyone else, but I just want to log in as Achiever right now because I was done with the demo, but I just wanted to show you one more thing. Of course, we have the full CRUD functionality for posts as well. Okay, so here, since I'm the creator of all these posts, now if I come to the home page, you can see that I do not have the option to actually click to be able to edit or delete any of the posts, right? But if I come to my profile, I have the option to click here to actually be able to delete or edit any of my posts, right? So I can click to edit this post, and I'll just say this post has been edited. Yep, so I can update it and it's been instantly updated. Okay, I can like my own post, of course. I can go ahead and add the comments as well. This is another comment from me. I can even add more and add emojis if I want. I also can go ahead and actually delete this post as well. So I can go ahead and delete it. Okay, now notice one more thing in the backend. Okay, so if I come to the project, let me show you something real quick. In the backend, you can see that we have an uploads folder, right? And in here, you can see we have some files, which are the images that we uploaded in this demo. Okay, now you are going to ask yourself, then how about the other images in the application? And these are actually coming from Cloudinary. Okay, every image in the application is coming from Cloudinary. Okay, and I'm going to show you how to work with Cloudinary. And the images here are first saved in here in the uploads folder before uploading them to Cloudinary. And from there, Cloudinary actually gives us a secure URL that we can use in our application. So I can actually go ahead and delete these, and our application is still going to work. So that is what I want to show you. And of course, the theme here, of course, I can go ahead and actually change it as well. Okay, and everything should be working perfectly. And also, one thing I want to show you is in here in the Mongoose database. This MongoDB Atlas, sorry. And in here, you can see that everything we are doing is being stored here in the database. Okay, so we have our comments collection, conversations collection, messages collection, post collection, users collection, and all that, right? So you can see some of the comments that I just added. You can see we have the users that I just added, right? So everything, this baby jet, this Daniel Vignon, and if I come to cloud, I have to log in. But basically everything is as I said, right? So I am ready to teach you everything that you see in this application. So if you're ready, just sit back, relax, and make sure you like, subscribe, and share this video. All right, let's get started. Let's have our post model. So in here, let's create our post model. So let's bring in the schema and model from Mongoose. So require Mongoose, right? And so let's go ahead and create the post schema. And right after with the schema, we are going to have our model. Takes in an object, and every post should have the creator of that post. Okay, so the creator ID and the schema types object ID. That's a Mongoose ID, and it is going to refer to the user model. Okay, every post should have a body with a type of string. That's it. It shouldn't be, actually I'm going to make that required. Okay, so required is going to be true. We will need an image which is going to be a string as well. We will need likes which is going to be an array. Basically it's going to be array of IDs, array of post IDs, right? So schema dot types dot object ID. Okay, and it's going to refer to a user, actually not post but rather user, because users are going to be the ones liking the post. So if someone likes a post, we are going to add that person's ID in this likes array. I hope that makes sense. And lastly, we are going to have comments, which is also going to be an array. Type is going to be schema types object ID, and it's going to refer to the comment model that we do not have yet. Come on, comment. Perfect. So that is it for the schema. Now let's go ahead and export the model. So module export model, and we are going to call this post singular, and we have our post schema. So now let's create our post controller or post controllers .js, not JSX. I'm going to go ahead and bring in my HTTP error, which is coming from our middleware. That's the error middleware. Let's bring in our post model as well. Let's require that from the models folder, post model. And also we will be using the user model. Okay, so let's go ahead and bring in the user model here as well. So in the models folder, we bring in the user model. Now, as you know, when we are creating a post, we will be uploading an image, okay, alongside with the text of the post, right? So we have to bring in Cloudinary, we have to bring in FS and then path and also UUID. Okay, so let's go ahead and bring all those, packages. So let's bring in UUID first. So UUID, that's v4 from UUID, right? But I'm renaming the v4 to UUID here. Okay, UUID. Let's bring in Cloudinary from the Cloudinary, from the utils folder, right? So let's go into the utils and get the Cloudinary config. Let's bring in FS and also path. Then remember, FS and path are both coming from Node.js, right? Okay, so these are all the imports that we need for this controller. Now let's go ahead and have some comments, and this is going to be create post. So I'm going to, of course, have a comment here, and this is going to be a post request. That's for the method, and it's going to be API/posts for the route, and this is going to be a protected route. So basically we have to go through the auth middleware before we get to this controller, right? So let's go ahead and have the controller. I will say create post. There's going to be an asynchronous function. Of course, we should have our request, our response, and our next. And in here, I'm going to have a try catch, and in a catch, I'll return next new HTTP error in case of any errors, and I'll just pass in the error. And in the try, I'll just return some JSON. Okay, so I'll actually just do response.json, and I'll say create a post, right? So yeah, so that's for our first controller. Now let's go ahead and actually duplicate this a few more times, let's say about 6 times, and have the other controllers. So the next one is going to be to get posts. Okay, we should be able to get a single post, so that will be get post. So this is going to be a get method, and it's going to be protected as well. I'll say get post singular, so I'll say get post, and that should be it here. Now the next one, actually we should have an ID, okay, of the post we are trying to get, right? And I'm going to continue to the next controller, and that will be get posts plural. It's going to be protected, of course. The method is going to be get, and API posts should get us there, and it will say get posts plural, right? So I'll say get posts, or you can say get all posts right here. And I think that's it for that as well. Now let's move on to the next one, and that will be to update post. So I'll say update post. I'll say update post. It will be a patch request, and we will need an ID of the post we are trying to update. It is going to be protected, of course, and we will say update post. That is it. Now let's move on to actually delete posts. So you will say delete, come on, delete post, and of course we need the ID of the post we want to delete. So this is going to be delete request for the method, and we are going to say, come on, delete post here. Now the next controller is going to be get following posts. Okay, so the people that we are following, we want to be able to get their posts, right? And this is going to be a get request, of course, and here the path is going to be this. So API posts and then following, and it's going to be protected, of course, and we will say get following posts plural, and here I will say get following posts, and I think that's it here. Now let's move on to the next controller. Of course, we want to be able to like or dislike a post, so I'll say like, dislike post. I'll say like or dislike posts, right? API post following protected. I'll say like or dislike post or a post, right? This is going to be a get request, and here the route is going to be, of course, we need the ID of the post we want to like or dislike, and then we will add like here. Okay, so that's the route, and I guess that's it for the like and dislike. Now let's move on to the next controller, and that is to get posts that belongs to a particular user. Okay, so now this controller, I wanted it to actually be in the user controller file. Okay, but I'll just have it here. So we'll go to the users route and then get the ID of the user, and we'll add posts. So this is the route to get the posts that belongs to a particular user, right? It'll make sense to put it in the user controller, but I'm just going to go ahead and leave it here. So here I will say get user posts, right? Then I'll say get user posts, get user posts, and yeah, I think that's it. Now I have some interesting, really. All right, so I'll just delete these. So we have create post, get post, that's singular. Let me just have some more space between them. So we have get post singular, we have get posts plural, we have update posts, we have delete post, we have get following posts, so the posts of people we are following. We have like or dislike post, we have get user posts, and what else? We want to get the posts in our bookmarks as well, right? So we actually want to be able to create bookmarks as well. So I think we have two more controllers remaining. So I'll have these two here, and I'll say create bookmark, and of course there's going to be a post request for the method, and here that will be post idea of the post we want to bookmark, and we'll say bookmark, that's the route, and we'll say create bookmark. I'll say create bookmark, and what else? I think that's it for the create bookmark. Now the next one is get bookmarks. Okay, so we are going to get the bookmarks of a particular user. So I'll say get bookmarks, so I think that will be the user. Actually, I'll just do API/bookmarks. Okay, that's not the most sensible route, but we are going to make it work regardless. So get user bookmarks. Since we are passing through auth middleware, we can make a lot of things work without having the perfect route. I hope that makes sense. So that would be get bookmarks. or get user bookmarks, whatever you want to call it. And so I think that is it for all the controllers that we need for the post controller. All right, so I'm going to have some more space here, of course, to make it more readable for you guys. And that's it. Okay, so let's go ahead and actually export this. So module export, you want create posts, you want update post, delete post, get posts plural, get user posts, you want get user bookmarks, create bookmarks or create bookmark, like dislike post, get following posts, and what else? I think that's it. Okay, so I'll just grab all these and come to the route and then paste it. Okay, I'll paste it right. I want the auth middleware to be last. It doesn't matter, but I just want to organize this very well. So I'll say const and then paste, and we are grabbing all these from our controllers and then the post controller. Perfect. So let's go ahead and have our post routes. So I'll say post routes. But before then, I want to have two more routes here for the user routes. Okay. Although we could have them here, no problems, but I just want them to belong here. Okay, that will be the get user posts and then the get user bookmarks, right? So let's go ahead and actually have those two, and then we will continue. Okay, so right here, I'll say router dot get users and slash, we want the ID of the user and then posts. And here, of course, we want to go through the auth middleware, and then we get user posts. Okay, remember in front here we already have the API, and that's here in the index.js, as you can see. Okay, we have the API, so the route continues here, and then we run through the middleware, the auth middleware, and then we get to the get user controller. Now the next one is going to be the get user bookmarks or get bookmarks, whatever it is. Yeah, get user bookmarks. And that route is users slash bookmarks. Okay. And since we are running through the auth middleware, we know that we want to get the bookmarks of the logged in user, and that will be get user bookmarks. And for there not to be any conflict, this is going to assume, this right here is going to assume that this here is an ID. Okay, and for us to avoid that conflict, I'm going to bring this before the get user. I hope that makes sense. And of course, we should go ahead and have the auth middleware on all of these since they are all protected. And yep, so I'll just have a comment and say, I'll say brought this route up here to avoid conflict with the get user, right? I hope that makes sense though. So that is it. We can move on to post routes. The first is create post. Of course, we should be able to create a post, so slash posts should take us to the create post. And I'm not going to have the auth middleware in front of these routes that I'm going to create just yet, and that is because I want to go ahead and test them all before we actually have the auth middleware. Okay, so yeah, I don't want to be copying the token and all that. I can't do that, so just bear with me here. But right after testing all the controllers and making sure that they are all working together with the routes, I'm going to go ahead and have the auth middleware. Okay, so let's go ahead. The next one is going to be get post. So router.get, that's the method. Post slash ID of the post should get us to the get post singular. I'll just go ahead and duplicate these. The next is going to be get posts. So that will be just slash posts, and that should get us all the posts. The next is going to be edit post. So that's a patch request, and that should update or edit post, and I call it update post. I want to be able to delete post as well. So that is delete post. The next is, like or dislike post. Like dislike post, and I think that's the same route. Okay, we have to add slash like. The next is a get request as well, and that will be following. We want to get the following posts. Basically, we want to get the post of people we are following. Okay, so posts slash following should get following posts. I'm going to duplicate this one more time. Slash posts slash ID of the post we want to bookmark. So bookmark post is what I'm trying to get here. So create bookmark. All right, so these are the routes that we need for all our posts. Okay, and of course I have to test the two routes that I have here. So I'm going to remove the auth middleware for now, and right after testing I'll make sure I have them. I have the auth middleware in front of all the protected controllers, right? So let's go ahead and actually test all the routes in Postman. And I'm actually going to rename this. Instead of social media, I'm going to say user. So this is the user collection. Okay, I'm going to create a new collection, and that's going to be post. Okay, so post collection. And here we are going to have our post routes. I'll just go ahead and, apart from the login, which I will be using later, I'm going to close all the other, routes that I tested earlier. So I'm going to go ahead and close all this and leave the login. Okay, we'll be logging in later to test other things once we have the auth middleware in front of the controllers. So now let's go ahead and test our first endpoint, which is the create post. So of course the method should be post, and remember we had a root URL, which is an environment variable right here. Let me show you real quick. We had a root right here. Let me just remove this. There's no needed, so I'm just going to remove it. Yeah, so your root URL, we have the value as localhost 5000 / API, which when you come here, excuse me, when you come here, you are going to see that of course our port is 5000, which is actually coming from the environment variable, and we have this API on top. Okay, so the other routes that we are going to have is going to be the continuation from the routes file that we have here. I hope that makes sense. If you watched the first part of the series, then you should understand what I'm talking about. So let's go ahead and actually continue. So to create a post, we have /API already, so we just have to add posts plural, and when we send this should actually give us that controller, the create post controller, which is this right here, our first controller here. Okay, create post. Actually, I'm going to go ahead and save this, so that will be in the post collection. Now say create post. Now save that. Now let's go ahead and get post, which is a get request. So of course we need our root URL, so /post and then an ID, so we can have anything for now, and then send this, and we should have get post right here. Okay, so let's go ahead and save this as well. Get post. Now let's get multiple posts or all the posts, and that will be URL. That's the root URL / posts, and that should get us all the posts. I should go ahead and save that as well. I'll say get all posts. And the next one, I think that's update post, I think. So that's going to be a patch request. We need the root URL / post, and then the ID of the post we want to edit or update. Okay, so that's update post. The controller is working correctly, and so I'll say update post. We need to be able to delete a post as well, so the method here is going to be delete. Of course, we need the root URL and post / the ID of the post we want to delete, and that should delete the post. Of course, now I'll go ahead and save this as well. Delete post. What else do we need to do? We want to be able to like or dislike posts, so that's going to be a get request. Okay, now we need the root URL and the ID of the post we want to like or dislike. So anything here works, and we want to add like to that. So when we send this, not found, or of course posts before the slash. I should have the slash here. So /posts /ID /like. Perfect. So now we can like or dislike post. That controller is working. So let's go ahead and save this. So like, dislike post. We need to be able to get all the posts of the people we are following. So let me have that as well. That's going to be a get request. We need the root URL /posts /following should get us all the people, the posts of the people. Wait a minute. Okay, I think I did not change the JSON, the response, sorry. Get following posts. Interesting. So let's come back here. Okay, you know, just like we had that conflict here, we are having the same conflict here. So it is actually treating this as an ID. Okay, so it is getting a single post. So what I'm going to do is just bring this up above the get post endpoint, and this should actually work. So I'll go ahead and actually send this request one more time, and we should be able to get the following posts, or the people that we are following. We should be able to get their posts, right? So I'll go ahead and actually save this. So I'll say get following posts, and of course there is a better way of having, you know, perfect routes, but for now we are just going to move on. Let's go ahead and be able to create a bookmark. Okay, and this is actually going to be a get request as well. So to create a bookmark, we need the ID of the bookmark, and then we go to bookmark. Okay, so let's try this and create bookmark. Perfect. So create bookmark, and the last two routes, and I'm not sure whether to actually have them in the posts or in the user, right? I'm not sure, but I think since the routes are in the user routes here, I'll just have them in the user collection here as well. So that will be the get user posts and then the get user bookmarks. Okay, so the get user bookmarks, let me have that first. That will be, of course, we need the root URL users slash bookmarks. So slash users slash bookmarks. I send this and I should get all bookmarks for a user. And I'm going to save this, get bookmarks or get user bookmarks. I'm going to save that in the user. Okay, so I'm going to choose the user collection and then save it there. And the last one is get user posts. So that's going to be a get request as well. Posts. Wait a minute. Actually, users the ID of the user and then posts. So users the ID of the user and then posts. So I'll send this get user post. That works. And we have the user collection selected, so I'll say get user posts. All right, so those are the endpoints tested, and every controller is working well with the routes that we have. Okay, so now we can actually go ahead to work on the individual controllers. Okay, and of course, as I said, some of these, or almost all, actually all of these are going to go through the auth middleware before they actually work. So of course, I'm going to go ahead and have the auth middleware in front of the controllers. So auth middleware, and here too auth middleware, auth middleware. Of course, I should have the comma. Why don't I just copy and paste? Oh god. So I just copy this and then paste it. Simple as that. All right, perfect. So now let's go ahead and work on the post controller, starting with the create post. Of course, to create a post we need two things. We need the text or the body of the post and then an image or a thumbnail, right? So let's get those from the request and continue from there. So I'll get the body from the request body, and I'll first of all let me check if there is no body. If so, then I'm going to return an error, so new HTTP error, and I'm going to say fill in text field and choose image, right? But if there's a text, then we can continue. Of course, if you want, you can actually check the length of the text, okay? The number of characters, the length of the text or whatever. You can go ahead and do that. But we are going to move on and actually check if there's an image or there is no image attached, rather. So I'll check if request.files.image is unavailable or is undefined. If so, then I'm going to return next new HTTP error, and I'm going to say please choose an image 422, meaning invalid data. Otherwise, then we can actually go ahead and save the image in the uploads folder here. Okay, remember we only have one uploaded file for Jendo. I think that was during the avatar changing. Right, so let's go ahead, and first of all we need to grab the image from the request files, and then we are going to check the size of the image and make sure it is not too large. And then after that we are going to rename the image and save it in the uploads folder as I showed you. And once we save it here in the uploads folder, now remember, saving it here in the uploads folder is possible because we have this, and that's by the help of Express File Upload. Okay, so make sure you have that package installed as well. And once we upload it here in the uploads folder, we are going to take it from this uploads folder and then push it to Cloudinary. I hope that makes sense. So Of course, right after pushing it to Cloudinary, we are going to receive a secure URL from Cloudinary, which we are going to save to our database. And a more practical solution to make sure that you don't have too many files in here, because you can have a million files if you're going to have a million posts, right? So in that case, you should have a function that's going to delete some of these files or all the files in a set interval. All right, so that's just by the way, and I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to have any function that's going to clean up those stuff, but I'm just explaining some things to you for production. All right, so let's go ahead and have the image or get the image from the request files. So request.files, and now I'm going to make sure the image is less than 1 megabyte. So if image.size is greater than a million bits, then we are going to return next new HTTP error. And of course, you can have a status of 422 here as well. And if you watched the first part of the series, then you should know that this request files returns an object that has, the name of the file, that's the name of the image, the size of the image, and that is what we are grabbing on to actually. So if you want, you can send a response like this, response.json, and that will be request.files, and you can see everything that is in the file. Okay, I hope that makes sense. So let's continue here. I don't want to waste too much time because I took the time to explain everything in the first video. And so let's continue and actually rename the image, because we don't want to upload an image that already has the same name as a file uploaded here already. I hope that makes sense. So let's say let file name be equal to image.name, and we will say file name should be equal to file name dot split, and we are splitting by the dot. And once we split it, we are going to say file name should be equal to the file name, and we are getting the first element, that's the 0 index, and we are going to add some random text from UUID. So since we have UUID in here already, we are just going to say UUID, and then we execute that, and it's going to generate some random text that is going to make the file unique, the file name unique. I hope that makes sense. So once we have that, we are going to add a dot and then the extension of the file. And to get the extension, now remember, some files can have multiple dots. Okay, so we want to get the last part after the split, and that's going to be the extension, right? So file name, and then we are going to say file name.length -1, and that should give us the extension. So once we have a unique name for the file, we are going to go ahead and save it in our uploads folder. So image.move path.join their name. So we are in this file with the dir name, and so we want to go up into the uploads folder and then add the file name, and this file should be saved. Right now we are going to have a function here, and in case there is any error, then we are going to go ahead and return next new HTTP error, and we just pass in the error here. Okay, but in case there is no error, then this if will be skipped, and we are going to continue to actually save or store on Cloudinary. We are going to save the image, the uploaded image here. We are going to go ahead and actually save it or store it in or on Cloudinary. So we say results is equal to await Cloudinary dot uploader dot upload, and it's the same path that we are going to use to get the image from here, that's from the uploads folder. And so path.join their name blah blah blah, we'll get that. So I'll just copy and then paste it here. The next argument is resource type, and there's going to be an image that we are trying to upload. And of course, you can go ahead and read the documentation of Cloudinary to understand how all these things work. Okay, now if you don't get any results, or if the image wasn't successfully stored on Cloudinary, then we are not going to get a secure URL. Okay, so I'm going to check if we have secure URL on the result. If so, then, or sorry, I'm going to check if we do not have secure URL. If we don't, then I'm going to return new HTTP error, and I'm going to say couldn't upload image to Cloudinary, or L400 or something like that. But if we skip this if check, then that means everything went well, and now we can actually save the post to database. So I'm going to say new post is equal to post model dot create, and the creator, of course, is going to be the request user ID. Remember, in the model, in the post model, we need a creator, okay, and that's the request user ID, and we are only getting the request user ID from the auth middleware. Okay, so we have to pass through the auth middleware before we can be able to actually create a post. Now we need a body, and we need, oh sorry, this should be a dot, and we need an image. Now the image is going to be the result secure URL, and that is it. Those are the three, or yeah, those are the three things we need for a post. All right, now once we have a post, we are actually going to go ahead and add that to the user of that post. Okay, so let me show you something real quick. Here you can see that we have this posts array for every user. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and push the ID of the post to that array. So I'll say await user model, and say find by ID and update, find by ID and update, and I'll say new post creator, or you can just use the request user ID, but I just want to use the new post creator, and I'm going to push in the post array new post ID. Okay, and once everything is perfectly done, I'm going to return. And once everything is done, I'm going to respond with the new post that we just created. So this is all you need to do to create a post. Okay, so let me actually go ahead and test this real quick. And of course, since we are going through the auth middleware, we have to be logged in, and I'm going to log in as Jendo here. Wait a minute, why is this taking so long? Oh boy, find one, buffering timed out. Interesting. Find by the new post. Yeah, so basically I changed the password for the database. Okay, I changed the password for the database. Now this is the old password, and I think if you watched the first video, then you saw that. But I just, for security reasons, I didn't want you guys to have that same password, or I didn't want to keep that same password I used. So I'm going to go ahead and actually change the password one more time, and yeah, I'm going to edit the password, and I'm going to copy that, and I'll come back and paste it. Okay, and I'll cut this part off for our blade, and yeah, so now this should actually work. Of course, I should go ahead and save it. Okay, so since I edited the environment variables, I'm going to go ahead and restart the server. So npm run dev, and now hopefully everything should actually work. Okay, so for the login, of course, Achiever is not, or Achiever doesn't have this password, so it doesn't work. But if I do jane@gmail.com, whose password is jane123, and send this, I should have everything working perfectly. Okay, so I'm going to copy this token, and we are testing for the create post. So I'll come here to the create post, authentication, bearer token, and I'm going to paste the token I just copied. Okay, now for the body, I'm going to choose form data right here, and I'm going to have a body for the post. I'll say this is my very first post, into bracket Jane Doe, right? And we need an image, if you can remember, and I can choose a file and select that file. What file should I even use here, man? I like Bitcoin, so I'm going to use this file. And remember, the name of the file is block24. Okay, and if I show you the uploads folder right now, you can see that we still have that old image that we had before. Okay, so let's go ahead and actually send this request and see what happens. Okay, so the post has been created. Of course, if we come here, you can see that we have the image uploaded in the uploads folder, and it has been renamed. As you can see, we have block24, we have the random gibberish from UUID, and then we have the extension. Okay, and if I check my Cloudinary right now, I'm going to go ahead and refresh. Right now it's not here, but I have to refresh. If I refresh, I should actually have that image, and of course I do. Okay, so that is how you do it. That is how you create a post. All right, so now let's actually move on to the next controller, which is get post. Wait a minute, I'm going to close this. So let's move on to the next controller here, get post. Of course, to get a single post, we need the ID of the post that we want to get. Okay, and that is going to be coming from the request params. So request.params, and simply we just want to go ahead and say post model dot find by ID, and I'm going to pass in the ID of the post we want to get. Okay, now this is actually going to be shown for the single post page. Okay, so you know, when you come to the home page, we have a lot of posts. Now when you click on one, then we are going to show the details of that post. We are going to have the comments of the post. We are going to have, you know, the user of the post as well, the user's name and profile picture and all that. So I'm going to go ahead and actually populate the creator of the post and then the comments of the post as well. Okay, so let's go ahead and have that. Now we do not have a comments model yet, but I'm just going to have this, and once we have the comments model, everything should actually work. Okay, so I'm going to populate the creator of the post. Of course, we have the user model already, and I'm going to populate the comments as well. So I'll say path should be the comments. Remember, every post has a comments, you know, array. Okay, every post has a comments array. So that is what I'm populating. So the path is going to be comment, and I'm actually going to have some options, and basically I just want to sort. I'm going to sort by the created at of the comment. I hope that makes sense. All right, so I think that's it, and yeah, you can just respond with some JSON. I hope that makes sense. So that is how you get a single post. Now let's continue fast to the getting of all posts, and that should be very easy as well. So posts is going to be equal to await post model, and we are just going to find. And of course, if you want, you can sort them. So sort by the created at, and we are going to sort them in ascending order. That is -1. So response.json, and then we pass in the posts that we get. Right, so let's go ahead and actually test these two. Of course, we need the token, because remember, we are going through the auth middleware. So get posts, or there's the get post singular. So the auth middleware, we're going to paste in the token, and let me quickly get the ID of the post that Jane Doe just created, and I'll pass in that ID here. I'll send a request, and we get now. And okay, I think I copied the ID of the creator instead. Now I want to get the ID of the post that we just created. I hope that makes sense. What I copied earlier was the ID of the creator. Now we have the ID of the post. Now let's send this and see what happens. And HTTP error. It's not a constructor, really. What is going on? Okay, I'm going to remove the populate for now. Okay, and I think it's because we do not have the comments model. Let me show you. We do not have the comments model just yet, so I'm going to remove the populate and send this, see what happens. And we actually have the post. I'm actually going to duplicate it and then comment the one below, and the one above I'm going to remove the populate. Okay, we will come back once we have the comments model. We will come back to actually uncomment this one and then remove this one. I hope that makes sense. So that is for getting a single post. Now let's try getting all the posts. So get all posts, and we don't need any ID, we just need a token. Since we are going through the auth middleware, I'll copy the token, come here, authorization bearer token, and I'll paste that, send, and I have that. Now I only have one post, so if I go ahead and actually create one more post, let's see what happens. I have the bearer token already in there, so I'll say this is my second post. I'll choose a different image, and any image works, of course. I'm just going to choose I'm going to choose this right here. Oh, I'm going to choose a bird. Okay, this one, and I'll send, and we have our second post. I can go ahead to get all the posts, and now I should have two posts. Okay, and of course these should be right here in the cloud. Now if I refresh, I should have the second image, and of course that image should also be saved in the uploads folder here, as you can see, and here too in the collections or in the database we should have our posts. Okay, so if right here, so we have the first and the second post. Everything is working exactly as expected. All right, so let's move on to the next controller, and that is the update post. And this should be pretty easy as well. And so of course I need the ID of the post I'm trying to edit or update. Okay, so request params ID, right? And I need the body of the post from the request body. Now I'm only going to update the body. I'm not going to change the avatar or the image that was uploaded, right? So I'll get the body from the request body, and I'll get post from the database. Okay, so I'll say post, I'll wait post model, find by ID, and I'll have the post, and I'll put in the post ID. Okay, so this should be post model. Is that big? All right, now once I have the post, I want to make sure that the person trying to update the post is actually the creator of the post. Okay, so I'll say check if the creator of the post is the logged in user. So I'll say if post, that's the post that we just got from the database, if the creator of that post is not equal to the request user ID, then we cannot actually, update this post. And I'll say HTTP error, you can't, what is going on? You can't perform, or I'll say you can't update this post since you are not the creator. And I'll say 403, forbidden action. Okay, now otherwise then this is actually the creator of the post, and so we can move on to actually update the post. So I'll say updated post should be equal to await post model dot find by ID and update, and I'm going to pass in the post ID, and I only want to update the body. Okay, and I want to return the newly updated post, so I'll say new should be true. So response.json should return or should send the updated post, and I'm actually going to say status should be 200 success. All right, so let's go ahead and actually try updating a post. So I'll just grab this post ID. I think that, yeah, that's the first post, and I'll come here to the patch, and in the body I can use form URL encoded, and I'll say body. First of all, I need to have the ID that I copied here, and I'll say this is the body of the updated post, or I'll just say this post has been edited. Okay, and of course we need the bearer token, so I need to copy that from the login. And remember, this bearer token expires after 1 hour, so just you have to know that. All right, so I'll just go ahead and actually try editing this post, and let's see what happens. Okay, now that works, right? Now the new body for that post says this post has been edited. Now if I come here, of course, and refresh, I should have that update here as well, right? This post has been edited. Now let's move on to the next controller, which should be pretty similar to the update. So I'm just going to go ahead. I want the ID of the post I'm trying to delete, and I want to check if the creator of that post is the logged in user. Okay, so of course the body here, I'm going to remove it. We don't need that. Once we know the creator is actually the logged in user, then we can just go ahead and delete. Okay, so I'll wait. Let me actually put that in a constant. So I'll wait post model and find by ID and delete, and we just have the post ID. Simple as that. So response.json and then the post, right? So we can go ahead and delete a post. Okay, I'll say deleted post here, and then that's what I'm trying to return here too. All right, so let's go ahead and actually delete a post. I'll copy the ID of a post. Wait a minute, let me go ahead and get all posts, and then which post should I'm going to delete the post we edited. Okay, so I'll just grab the ID of that post, paste it in here, and of course we need the token for the logged in user, and I've logged in here as NS Achiever, right? Actually, Achiever is not the creator of that post, so Jane123. So I'm going to log in again as Jane, copy the token as the bearer token, come to delete, and go to authorization, select bearer token, and then paste that token. All right, so I'll just send this, and that post should be deleted, right? So I'll just refresh here, and we should have that post deleted. Perfect. And of course I can actually select to delete the second post as well. So let's paste the ID of that post, send this request, and that should also be deleted. I'll just refresh, and that is gone. Okay, if you want, you can go ahead and delete the image of that post from Cloudinary and all that. Okay, but I'm just going to skip that and move on to the next controller, that is get following posts. So basically the people that you are following, if you want to get their posts, then the first thing we want to do is to get the logged in user from the database, and from there we can get all his following, and then we can do something with it. Okay, so the first thing we want to do is to get the user, that's the logged in user, from the user from the database. So user model dot find by ID, and we are going to pass in request the user dot ID. Okay, and once we have that, we are going to just get all the posts in the following array. Remember, every user has a following array and a followers array, but here we need the following array, the people that we are following, right? So I'll say posts should be equal to await. I'll say post model dot find each creator in the user following, right? And that should give us all the posts of the people that we are following. Of course, this should be in an object. All right, so response.json should be the post. As simple as that. All right, so you know what, I'm just going to go ahead and create some posts one more time. So create post. This is my very first, and I'm going to use capitals just so you know it's not the earlier post. So this is my very first post. I can have the same, or I can keep the same image. And you know what, I'm going to use this. Oh, I should have used the same image. Actually, let me use the same image just to prove to you that the images are being renamed, right? So I have the first post, and of course the image should be uploaded here, as you can see, and that's the first post. I'm going to post another one, second, and I'll just keep it like this. This is my very second, or this is my second post, and I'm going to use the same image, send that should work. And if I come here, you can see that we have that same image as well. We should have that same image twice exactly. Okay, so block 20, as you can see, and then block 20, but you can see that we have different gibberish. That makes it unique. I hope that makes sense. All right, so we have 2 posts, and I don't know how to do this. It definitely should work, but I'm going to log in as someone else and then, create another post. So I'm going to log in as how many users do we even have in the database? Let me see. We have only 2 users. Okay, so let me actually go ahead and register another user just to make sure that this works before we move on. So for the user, register user, where is it? Right here. I want to register another user, URL encoded. So to register a user, we need full name, we need email, we need password, and then confirm password. Right. The full name, I'll do Daniel Vignon. The email, daniel@gmail.com. The password, I'll do Daniel123. Daniel123. I'll just register this person. He's been registered. I'll come to the login to log in as Daniel, just so I can create a post as Daniel. That's the password 123. So yeah, that's Daniel's token. I'll just copy that and create a post here. So this is my, I'll say I am Daniel, and this is my first post. I'll choose a different thumbnail for this, and just something random. I'll use this pencils and then send. Oh god, remember I did not change the, let me edit this, man. Actually, I'll just leave it. Let me just delete it. Okay, I'll delete this post because I hate this. You know what, I'll just go ahead and delete it from the database. Let me refresh the post. If you can see here, this right here is the ID of Jane Doe, and the post we just created is the same ID, the creator ID. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead. This is supposed to be Daniel's post, but I did not add, or I did not put in the token of Daniel, so the post was created by Jane Doe. I hope that makes sense. So I'm just going to go ahead, pass in Daniel's bearer token, and now if I send this, they should be created by Daniel. Okay, so if I come here and then refresh, now the creator should have a different ID from the first 2 posts that we created right here, as you can see. All right, so the whole point is, if I log in, right, if I log in as Ernest Achiever right here, and I fetch all the posts of people that I am following, then I should only, you know what, yeah, okay, we can actually follow or unfollow people. So to follow anyone, I just have to get the person's ID. So I'm just going to get Jane Doe's ID from here. This is Jane Doe's ID. That's the first and the second post creator. So I'll just get her ID, and I'll come here to follow or unfollow. And I hope you guys are understanding what I'm doing here. So I'll come here, paste her ID, and of course I have to get mine token as well. So let me log in once again, get mine token, and paste in that as the bearer token, right? And I should wait, let me check real quick if Jendo has any followers. Okay, so Ernest has no following right now, and Jendo has no followers right now. Okay, so I'll just go ahead and okay, so now Jendo has a follower. Okay, and if I check from here, if I refresh, the following of NS Achiever is 1, and that's Jendo right there, and Jendo should have 1 follower, as you can see. Okay, so now I can be able to get the posts of the people that I'm following, and that should be the posts of Jendo. I hope that makes sense. So get following posts, and right here I should just pass in my token. Okay, so NS Achiever should just send that request, and that should be it. So the bearer token, of course, should be the logged in user. And now if I send this, I should have the posts of the people that I'm following. And in this case, these 2 posts belong to Jendo, and that's the only person that I'm following. Okay, now if I go ahead and follow Daniel as well, so let me go ahead and actually copy the ID of Daniel. So I'll copy Daniel's ID and then come to follow on follow user, paste Daniel's ID in here, send. So now Daniel has a follower. Okay, and now if I try to get the post of the people that I follow, I should get Daniel's post as well. So now I have 3 posts. But what happens if I unfollow Daniel? Or actually, let me unfollow Jendo. Okay, so I hope you guys are getting what I'm doing. Maybe I'm doing too much, but I just want you guys to understand what's going on, right? So I'm going to unfollow Jendo. I'm going to unfollow Jendo. Okay, so now the followers of Jendo is 0 or is empty. And now if I go to get following posts, I should only have Daniel's post. I hope that makes sense. So everything is working exactly as expected. All right, so I think that's it for, and you know what, one thing I've seen, one bug I would say that I've seen here is that we still have some of the deleted posts in the posts array of the user. Okay, and so once we delete a post, we have to go ahead and actually pull the ID of that post from the array. So delete post right here. Once we delete a post, I'm going to go ahead and copy something from up here, and I think that was what that was in the create post. You know, once we create a post, we pushed to the, yeah, exactly, to the user model. So I'm just going to copy this and then come to the delete post, right? So once we delete a post, we want to pull. So user model, and then here will be post. So the post that we just got, and then we are going to pull the ID of that post. I hope that makes sense. So there shouldn't be new post. This should be just post ID. All right, so that is it, guys. I hope everything makes sense. I hope you guys understand what I'm doing here. So the next thing we want to do is to be able to like or dislike posts. Liking or disliking posts should be pretty simple as well. First, we want to get the post that we want. Okay, so let's get that post ID from the request params. So request the params, and we are going to get the post. So let's await post model find by ID. But then let's check if the user has already liked the post. If so, then we want to dislike it. Otherwise, then we want to like it. I hope that makes sense. So check if the logged in user has already liked posts. So if post that we just got from the database, if the likes, which is an array, includes the request user ID, then that means the post has already been liked by the user. And in that case, we want to actually, let me have a let updated post here. So in that case, I want to say updated post should be await post model, and I'm going to find by ID and update. I'll have the ID in here, and then just pull from the likes request user ID, and I will just return the new, the new post, right? Otherwise, then I'll just duplicate this, then bring it down. Otherwise, then I want to push it, and that means I want to like it instead. Okay, so once that is done, I'm just going to return the new updated post. All right, so that's it. Now let's go ahead and actually try this out. And so like or dislike post right here, we need the ID of the post that we want to first of all, let me just go ahead and get all the posts and just grab the ID of one of the posts. I want to get Daniel's post. It's very specific, so the ID of the post, I'll just grab that and then come to like dislike. I'll paste the ID of that post, and in the authorization, of course, we should be logged in. So Achiever is logged in already. I'll just copy his token, and he wants to like or dislike a post, right? So bearer token, I'll just paste and send this request, right? So in the likes, now you can see that this person has liked this post. That's why his ID is in this likes array, right? If I send this request again, this ID should be removed, and meaning the post has now been disliked. Okay, so I will send this, and now there is no ID in that likes array. I hope that makes sense. So the like dislike post is also working. Now let's move on to get user posts, and this should be pretty easy. I just need the ID of the user, right? So this should be coming from the request params. So I'll say user ID should be equal to request.params.id post await user model find by ID, and I'll pass in the user ID, and I'm going to populate the posts. So I'll say the path should be posts, and then I'll have some options, and that's to sort all the posts. So I'll sort by the created at, and that will be -1. response JSON, and I'll pass in the post, and that should be it. Okay, so we should be able to get a user's post, and this is Daniel's ID, so I'm just going to grab that and get user posts. Have the ID of that user, and of course you have to be logged in, so I'm going to grab the bearer token. So I'll come here, bearer token, and then paste, and I have it. Okay, so I have the user, and then the user has been populated with the posts. So that one too is working. Now let's move on to the next controller, and that is create bookmark. To bookmark a post or to create a bookmark, we need the ID of the post that we want to add to our bookmark. Okay, so let's get that ID from the request params, and I'm actually going to get, and of course the logged in user is the one who is going to create the bookmark, or who is going to add a post to his or her bookmark, right? So let's get that logged in user from the database, right? So I'll say get user and check if post is already in his bookmarks. Basically, if the post is already in the bookmark, then we want to remove the book, or we want to remove post. Otherwise, add post to bookmarks. Okay, so let's get the user. So let's await user model, of course, equal to user model dot find by ID, request user ID, and we have to check if the ID that we have here is in the user's bookmarks. Remember, every user has a bookmarks array right here. So inside that array, we want to check if there's that post already in that bookmarks. So we say user bookmarks includes ID. If so, then the post is already bookmarked, right? So I'll say post is bookmarked. If that is the case, then I want to remove that. I want to pull it from the bookmarks array, just like the like and the dislike, right? So I'll say user bookmarks should be await user model find by ID and update, request user ID, and I'll pull the ID of that post from the bookmarks array, and I'll return the new user, right? So I'll respond with some JSON and say user bookmarks, or just user, because it's the user that we are updating here. And here I'll just do the opposite. So I'll just bring this down, and instead of pull, I'll just push, and that should be it. Okay, so with this, we should be able to add a post to our bookmarks, right? So I'll just go ahead and actually try this, and I'm logged in as Achiever, so let me grab the token of Achiever. As you can see, I'm logged in as Achiever, so I'll just grab this token and try to add a post to my bookmarks. Okay, I'll just have the token in here, and first of all, let's make sure that, as you can see, Achiever doesn't have any bookmarks. This array is empty. right? So let me grab just any post at all. I'll grab Daniel's post. So I'll grab this ID and have that in here, and then try adding that. So as you can see, that has been added, right? That has been added. So everything is working as expected. Now we have one ID in that array. And if I go ahead and submit this, or I send this request one more time, it should be removed, okay? And everything is working as expected. Perfect. So now let's move on to the next thing. Oh, I think that's that's the last controller. Now we should be able to get all the bookmarks of a user. Okay, so I'll just go ahead. I'll say user bookmarks. I'll wait user model, find by ID, request user ID, basically the logged in user, and I'll populate. I have the path of bookmarks, and I have some options. I'll say sort, and I'll sort by the created at, and it's going to be in ascending order. And once I have that, I'm just going to respond back to the client with that. Okay, so that should be pretty easy. I'll just go ahead and test that out. Of course, in this case, we should have something in the, actually, I'll just go ahead and try without having anything in the bookmarks, right? So that will be get bookmarks right here. Of course, I should have my token. So I'm just going to grab the token, get bookmarks. Paste, send. Okay, so I'm getting the user, but as you can see, nothing is populated in the bookmarks. Okay, so basically I don't have any posts in the bookmark. But if I go ahead and create bookmark right here, if I go ahead and add this post to the bookmarks like we did earlier, and I come back to get bookmarks, I'll go ahead and send this request. Now you can see in the bookmarks, I have the posts that I added to my bookmark. I hope that makes sense. So everything is working as expected. Okay, everything is working as expected. And now we are done with the post controller. We are completely done with the post controller. So now let's move on to our comments. Okay, starting with the comment model right here. So let's go ahead and have our comment schema. So let's import schema and model from Mongoose, right? And let's go ahead and have our comment schema. So I'll say comment schema should be equal to new schema, takes in an object, and for every comment, we need the creator of that comment, the post ID, the post that comment belongs to, and then the comment itself. Now for the creator of that comment, instead of me having just the creator ID, I'm actually going to have the creator ID, the creator name, and the creator photo. Okay, the creator, profile photo. So let me have creator here, and it's going to be an object with a type, and inside that we are going to have the creator ID. That itself will have a type of schema types and an object ID, right? And it's going to refer to the user, the user model. So we have the creator ID, and we are going to have the creator name. That should be inside here. We are going to have the creator name, and that's going to have a type of string, and it's going to be required. So required is going to be true here. And lastly, we are going to have the creator photo, or you can call it creator profile photo, whatever. And it's also going to have a type of string, and it's going to be required as well. All right, now the next thing we need, as I said, is going to be the post ID. Okay, so the post this comment belongs to, right? So the type is going to be schema types object ID, and it's going to reference the post model. And lastly, what we need is the comment itself, the comment body, the text. Okay, and it's going to have a type of string, and it's going to be required, of course. So required true. Perfect. All right, so that is the schema. Now let's go ahead and export our model, and I'm going to call that comment, and we are going to need the comment schema for this model. And that is it for our comment model. This is how our comment model looks like. All right, so let's hop into the routes, and then let's go into the controller, the comment controller. So let's have comment controller, or comment controllers, yeah, .js. And I'm actually going to go ahead and copy what we have here. That's the comment, the code comment. And I'm going to close. I'll have a try catch in here as well. Create comment, and it's going to be a post request, and the route will be /API comments, and then the post ID. Right, it's going to be protected, of course. Now here I can just send a response, a JSON response, and say create comment, and here if you want, return next, new HTTP error, or you can just log that in a console, right? But here I'll just say new HTTP error, which I do not have yet. So let's make sure we actually import that HTTP error, require that from the models, and let's get the error model. Right, now wait a minute, here in the controller, the post controller, this HTTP error should actually be coming from the model. Okay, it should be coming from the model. So we go into the models folder and then get the error model. I hope that makes sense. Yeah, that's how it should be. I don't know if I made the same mistake in the user controller as well. I don't think so. Right here. Okay, so this is correct, but for the post controller, but here I did not get the right thing. Okay, so I'm going to close these two, and let's go ahead and bring in the model. That's the comment model. So const comment model, let's require that from the models and get the comment model. And also I'm going to bring in the post model and the user model as well, because I think I'll be needing them. Post model, so in our models folder, let's bring in the post model and the user model as well. In our models folder, let's bring in the user model. Perfect. So now we have our first control. Wait a minute. Oh, okay, so this was actually imported. I did not notice that. So we have our first controller here. Let's go ahead and have the other controllers that we will need for our comments, and we need only 3 controllers here. The next one is going to be get post comments. So I say get post comments. It's going to be protected, of course, and This is going to be get for the method. Let's say get post comments, and I'll say get comment or get post comments, delete comment. The method is going to be delete, and it's the same route that we need here, but here it's going to say delete comment. All right, so that is it for the controllers. Now we have to of course we have to export these. So create comment, get comment or get post comment, get post comment, and then delete comment. Right, I'm going to copy this. I'll come back to my routes. Right, and I'll say router post. Of course, let me just bring everything in. So I'll just paste what I copied from the controllers, the comments controller, right? So the first one, we of course need to be able to create a comment. So that is comment, and then the post ID. And here too, we will be going through the auth middleware before we can actually create a comment, but we have to test this in Postman first. So let me just put the create comment. Once we are done with the testing from Postman, I'll come back and then actually have the, the auth middleware in front of the controller itself. All right, so that is it. That is it for, and here I'll say comment ID. Okay, let me correct that here as well. Perfect. All right, now I'll go ahead and test the endpoint in Postman. So I'm actually going to create a new collection for the comments. So I'll say comments, and we have, all these I should close, right? I'm just going to go ahead and close everything. So I'm using Control W to close all these, right? Perfect. All right, so we need to first be able to create a comment. So let's have our root URL / what comment / the ID. Let me see and confirm that. All right, so comment / the ID of the post that we are trying to comment on. For now, we can just have any ID and then send this request. Then we get create comment. So let's go ahead and save this in the comments collection that we just created. And I'm going to go ahead and select the collection, and I'll say create or add comments. I'll just say create comment. Let's go ahead and try getting comments. So comments of a post. So root comments and then the ID of the post. I'll send this. That should be get. Okay, that should be get post comments, right? Wait a minute. All right, so get post comments, of course, and then this will be delete comment. My bad. Now I'm going to send this and we get post comment. So that's working. Get post comment. I'll save this as well. And lastly, we want to be able to delete comments. So, and in that case, we need the ID of the comment itself, not the post, right? This should work as well. And it is working as expected. So we say, oh, wait a minute. Let me just have a new. So root URL, comments, and then the ID of the comments. I'm changing the method to delete. And I'll say delete comment. And I didn't even test it, so I'll just send it here too, just to make sure, and it works. Okay, so those are the endpoints for our comments, and they are all working perfectly. Of course, comment route. Why am I making so many mistakes, guys? Sorry. To create a comment, of course, we need the ID of the post on which we want to comment, right? So let's get that from the request params. I'll say post ID, and we are getting that from the request params. Now let's get the comment itself from the request body. So comment, and that should be coming from the request body. And if we do not have any comment, then we are going to return next new HTTP error, and we will say please write a comment 422, right? But if we have a comment, then we are going to go ahead and first of all, remember in the comment model, we need the ID of the creator of the comment. We need the name of the creator of the comment, and then we need the picture, okay, the profile picture of the creator of the comment as well. And the reason why I'm doing this is because I do not want to make another request to the database when I'm getting the comments, okay? So I'm just putting it all in one, in one go, so that once I make a fetch request for the post, I can populate the comments, and then everything will be, everything will be ready without me having to make another request to the database to fetch the comment creator or the creator of that comment. I hope that makes sense. So here I'm actually going to get the creator from the database and then get those details like the name and the profile picture. Okay, so I'll say get comment creator from DB. So I'll say comment creator await user model dot find by ID, and the logged in user is the person we are trying to get, right? And once we have that person, then we can actually go ahead and create our comment. So I'll say new comment should be equal to await comment model dot create, and we need the creator, which is an object that needs the creator ID, and in this case that would be the comment creator dot underscore ID. But if you want, you can just go ahead and do request user ID, right? We need a creator name, and that will be the comment creator dot full name, and lastly we need the creator photo. That's the profile picture of the comment creator, right? And that will be the comment creator dot profile photo. We need the comment itself, and lastly the post on which we are commenting, so the post ID. And once we have this, we can go ahead and actually push the ID of this comment in the post comments ID. So when you come back here, for every post, you can see that we have a comments array, right? So we have, comments array for every post. So we are going to push that ID of the comments we just created in this array. So we will say await post model, find by ID and update. We need the post ID, and we are going to push comment, new comment, and underscore ID. And I'm going to return the newly updated post, right? Although I don't need to, but so let's go ahead and send a response to the client, and we are going to send the new comment as a response. All right, so this should work exactly as we expect. So let's go ahead and actually test this out. Of course, we need to go through the auth middleware before we can be able to perform any of these actions, or before we can be able to get to these controllers. Okay, so let's go ahead and actually test this out. We need to be able to create a post, and of course I need to be logged in first. So I'll go ahead and log in this case as Ernest Achiever. Copy the token, bearer token, come here and then paste it, and of course for the body we can use URL encoded, and we need a comment. I'll say this is a comment on Daniel's post. So I'm going to go ahead and actually select the ID of Daniel's post right here. I'm going to copy this, and notice there is no comment here, right? So I'm going to copy that and then paste that ID here, and I'm going to send this request, and an unknown error occurred. Interesting. What could be that unknown error? And I'll check what the problem is, and here instead of parentheses it should be curly braces, of course. So I'm just going to go ahead and correct this real quick. Curly braces, and this right here of course should be a colon. All right, so let's save this and then come back to try this again, and I'll send this request, and now this actually works. Okay, the comment has been created. You can see the creator of the comment with the creator ID, the creator name, and wait a minute, you should have the creator photo or the profile photo of the creator. So comment creator profile photo. What? But instead I'm actually getting the ID for some reason, which is not what I'm expecting. So what could be the problem? All right, now let me check the model. Basically this should be outside of this curly braces, right? So I'll just paste it here and then save. So now this should actually work. So I'll send this comment request, and you can see now we truly have the creator photo. So now the create comment controller is actually working, right? Of course, if we check our database, so we go to our comments here, we should have so many comments, right? And so that's it. I'm actually going to go ahead and delete the comments collection, and just so I get rid of all the error comments, right? And I'll go ahead and try this one more time just so we have at least one comment in there. And once I send the request and then come back to refresh, we should actually have a new comments collection that should have, the comment that we just added to Daniel's post. And as you can see, we have it, right? Perfect. So now let's go ahead and continue with the other controllers. And the next controller is the get post comments controller. This should be pretty easy. We are just going to go ahead to fetch the post by the post ID, and then we populate the comments for that post. Okay, so let's go ahead and get the post ID from the request params, and we are going to have our comments, and we will say await post model find by ID, and I'll paste in and I'll have the post ID here. And once we get the post, we are going to populate the the comments of that post. So I'll say path will be the comments. That's what we want to populate. And I'm actually going to go ahead and sort this. So I'll say options, and I'll sort by the created at in ascending order. All right, so we are going to send this back to the client, and that'll be the comments, right? So let's go ahead and actually try this. I'll just grab this. That's the ID of the post. That's Daniel's post. So we will come here to get post comments, and I'll paste that ID. Of course, we need to be logged in, so I'll just copy the token here, bearer token. I'll just come here and paste, and I'll send the request. Perfect. So we have the post, and as you can see, we have the comments for that post. If I go ahead and actually add one more comment, I'll say another comment on Daniel's post, and I'll send this. Now if I come here and get the comments for that post, we should have two comments. Okay, so we have another comment on Daniel's post here, and the first one, this is a comment on Daniel's post. How that makes sense? Now let's go ahead and actually delete comment. To delete the comments, we need the comment ID this time, not the post ID, right? So let's get the comments ID from the request params. So comment ID request.params, and we want to get the comment from the database. So I'll say comment should be await comment model dot find by ID, and I'll have in the comment ID. Once I have the comment, I'm actually going to fetch the creator of that comment, and here I just want to make sure the creator is the one trying to actually delete or perform this action of deletion, right? So I'll say comment creator should be await user model dot find by ID, and I'll just have in the comment dot creator dot ID, right? Once I have this person, I'm going to check if the creator is the one performing the deletion, and so I'll say comment creator underscore ID, or I'm actually going to check if the ID is not equal to the logged in user's ID. If so, then this person cannot perform this action. So we are going to return next new HTTP error, and I'll say unauthorized action, right? And it's going to be a 403 status code. But if that person is actually the creator, then I'm going to go ahead and actually remove the comment ID from the post comments array. Okay, so I'll say remove comment ID from post comments array, So I'll await post model. I'll find by ID and update. I'll pass in the comment ID. I'll pass in the comment post ID, and I'm going to pull from the comments array the comment ID. Okay, that is all I need to do here. And then right after that, I can go ahead and actually delete the comment. So I'll say deleted comment should be await comment model, of course, and I'm going to find by ID and delete, and I'll just pass in the comment ID. Perfect. Once that is done, I can send something to the client, and I'll say deleted comment, or you can just type comment deleted successfully or something like that. Okay, so let's go ahead and actually try this. I'll go ahead and actually grab an ID of a comment. Okay, so there's a comment ID. I'll just grab that. I'll come here and paste it. Now, of course, we need our token, and right here that will be authorization bearer token. And I think there's an easier way of having the token, in an environment variable, right? But just bear with me here. Okay, unauthorized action. Interesting. Why is it unauthorized? Interesting. Unauthorized actions. We get the comment creator, the comment, the creator, and then it's a creator ID, right? Not the comment ID. Creator ID, the creator of the comment. So yeah, this should actually work now. So I'll go ahead and send this request, and that comment should be deleted. If I come back to get all the comments for that post, now we have only one comment, right? If I go ahead and copy this, come back here, and then paste that ID, and then send this request. Now the second comment, or the remaining comments here, should actually be deleted. So let's get all the comments, and now we do not have any comments. I hope that makes sense. All right, so that is it for the comments. Okay, that is it for the comments, and I think the next thing we want to move on to should be the messaging. Okay, so we should have a conversation model and a message model, and also some message controllers as well. And also maybe we will have the socket IO right here before we head on to the front end, or who knows, maybe I'll have to finish the whole front end and make sure everything is working before I add the socket IO. But for now, we are done with the comments. So I'll close all these, and I'll create my conversation model. So conversation model .js. I'll go ahead and create my message model as well .js, right? So let's have our conversation model first. So of course we need to bring in schema and model from Mongoose, and also we need to have our schema. So conversation schema should be equal to new schema, and we have our object. Now every conversation is going to have participants. Okay, first of all, I'm going to have my timestamps, and I don't know if I even had timestamps for the post model. I'm not sure. Yeah, I did not. So I'll say timestamps, and that's going to be true. And I'll do same for, okay, I did it for the user model. All right, so every conversation is going to have participants. Okay, if it is a group conversation, we can have as many participants as possible, but in this case we are only targeting, you know, one-to-one type messaging system, right? So let's have our participant, and it's going to have a type of schema types, object ID, and it's going to reference the user model, right? Yeah, and also we are going to have a last message, and it's going to be an object that is going to have a text with a type of string, and it is going to be required, and that's going to help us show the last message. You know, for every conversation you are going to see on the list of the conversations that you have, you are going to see the last message, and just to have the check mark to show that we sent the last message, or not to have it if the other person that we are chatting actually sent it. We are going to have the sender ID here as well, which is going to help us determine who sent that last message, right? So I'll have schema types, object ID here, and it's also going to reference the user. All right, so that is our schema for the conversation. Now we have to export this, and that will be the conversation schema. Come on, perfect. Now let's move on to our message model. Of course, let's bring in our schema and model from Mongoose. I could have just copied it from the other page, but so let's have our message schema, new schema, and each message should have a conversation ID, okay, to determine what conversation that message belongs to, right? So the type here is going to be schema types, object ID, and it's going to reference the conversation model, right? And this should actually be required, so I'll say required should be true. Okay, I'll have the sender ID, and that will be schema types, object ID, and this time this is actually going to refer to the user model, and this should be required as well. And lastly, the text for that message. So the type is going to be string, and this definitely is going to be required as well. All right, so that is it for, of course, we need the timestamps. So that is the schema for our message, and so let's export this module export model message schema. Perfect. Now we can go on to actually have, you know, our controllers for our messages. So I'll say message controller JS, or message controllers, since I'm naming these all plural. So message controllers, I'll just rename this real quick. I'll just add the S. Perfect. I'm going to bring in our HTTP error. and that is coming from models. So let's go to models and then get the error model. I'm going to get the conversation and the message models as well. So conversation model, come on, we go to our models and we get the conversation model, and let's get our message model as well and get that from the models folder. Now I think that's it. We are going to have a comment here. There's going to be create message, and there's going to be a post for the method, and for the route API messages slash the ID of the receiver of that message. All right, this is going to be protected, of course. Okay, so you will say create message. It's going to be asynchronous, of course. We need our request, our response, and our next. And we are going to try catch. In case of any error, we just return next, new HTTP error, and then pass in that error. And for now, I'll just send something as a response and say create message. Okay, so that is our first controller. Now I'm going to duplicate this twice, and the next one will be to get messages, right? So I'll say get messages. The method is going to be get, of course, and I think here too we need the receiver ID. Okay, I'll say get messages, and this will be get messages. The next one here will be to get conversations, right? So I'll say get conversations is going to be a get request, and this time we are going to API slash conversations. They're going to be protected, and this will be get conversations. The JSON response, I'll say get conversations, and I think that's it. Now let's go ahead and make sure this exported. So create message, get messages, and then get conversations. Of course, I have to have the routes here. So these will be the message routes. It should be comment routes here, just like that. And then user routes. Yeah, perfect. So let's have router.post. That's for the create. That will be messages slash the receiver ID, and we need to pass through the auth middleware, but I'm going to test this with Postman and make sure all the controllers are working with the routes that we have before I'll actually come back and have the auth middleware, right? So I'll say create message, and of course I should make sure I am importing so register create post. This for the comments, and now we should have these coming from controllers and then the message controllers, right? So get message, create message. We have the first endpoint. Now the second is going to be a get request. That's for the method, and it's the same route, but here we are going to get messages, and it's going to be a get request as well, but this time it will say conversations, and we are going to get conversations. Perfect. So now let's go ahead and actually test these endpoints in Postman. All right, so let me just create a new collection. I'll call it messages. I'm just going to close these request for the comment. I'll leave my login, and let's go ahead and have a post for the method here. We need our URL / messages and then the ID of the receiver, right? And if we send this, we have an error for some reason. What could that error be? Create message has already been declared. Interesting. Definitely that should be here. Create message. Okay, let me just go ahead and remove this one. All right, so I'll just go ahead and send it, and I have create message. Okay, so let's go ahead and save this, and make sure you choose the messages collection, and I will say create message. Save. The next endpoint should be the get messages, so / messages and then the ID of the receiver. That should get us all the messages between the logged in user and the receiver of that message. So I'll say get messages, and lastly get conversations, right? So that should be a get request. We need the root URL / conversations. Okay, so we save, and we have it. Perfect. All right, so those are the endpoints. So now I can actually have, you know, the auth middleware in front of all the controllers in here. Yes, auth middleware, and lastly auth middleware. Nice. All right, so let's actually work on the controllers now. Okay, starting with the create message controller. To create a message, we need the receiver ID and the message itself, right? So let's get the receiver ID from the request params. So receiver, right? Come on, receiver ID, and that should be coming from the request params. Okay, should be coming from here, right? And once we have that, we need the message body as well, coming from the request body. Okay, now let's check if there is already a conversation between current user and receiver. So the logged in user and the receiver, we are going to go through the database to check if we can get any conversations. So I'll let conversation be await conversation model, of course, and I'll find one, and I want to find a conversation whereby the participant or have the receiver ID and the logged in ID, right? So that will be, of course, in the array request.user.id and the receiver ID. And I'm going to check if there is no such conversation. If so, then I'm going to create a new one. I'll say create new conversation if none was found. So if no conversation, then I'm going to go ahead and create a conversation. So I'll say conversation should be await conversation model dot create, and then participant would be the request user ID, and then the receiver ID. Of course, we need this should be an array. Like that. And of course, we need last message, and that will be an object with a text, and that will be the message body, and then the sender ID, and that will be the request user ID. And that's it, right? Now, once we have this, wait a minute, conversation, yeah, perfect. And once we have that, we can go ahead and actually create a new message. Let me have a comment. Create a new message. I'll say new message model. So create, and I need the conversation, right? So let's have the conversation ID, and that'll be conversation underscore ID, and then the sender ID, that'll be the request user ID, that's the logged in user, and then the text for that message, that'll be the message body. Once we do that, we can go ahead and actually update our conversation as well. So I'll await conversation, and I'm going to update one, and I'm going to update the last message, and that will be a text of the message body, and the sender ID will be the request user ID. And I think that's it. Okay, so now I can send something back to our client, and that will be the new message. All right, so I think we can actually now go ahead and try to create a conversation, to create a message. So of course I need to be logged in, so I'll just send this request just to make sure this token is not expired. Remember, it expires in I did not save this, so let me just go ahead and save it real quick. Let's say get conversations. Right now we want to create a message, so I'll come here in the authorization bearer token. I'm going to paste the token I just copied, and for the body I'm going to do URL encoded. I need message body. Remember, that is what we are expecting from the request body, right? And so I'll say this is achiever's first message. All right, now I need to have someone I'm sending the message to, so I'll just come to my database here and get someone. I'll just get Jane, so I'm going to copy Jane's ID, come back here and then paste it, and that should be enough to send a message. So let's go ahead and then send this, and we do have a message. Okay, so we have the sender ID, the conversation ID, the text, and that's it. Right now I should come here and refresh our database, and now we should have two more collections added to our database, right? We should have the conversation collection and the message collection as well, as you can see. So if we check our conversations collection, we have an array of 2 participants already. Okay, and here in the messages collection as well, we have a message. So everything is working exactly as expected. All right, now Of course, I should be able to get messages as well. So let's move on to that controller real quick. So here too, of course, we need the receiver's ID coming from the request params. Receiver ID, request the params. And with that, we can go ahead and actually get the conversation between the logged in user and this receiver, right? So I'll say conversation, await conversation model, dot find one, and the participant, I'm going to get all, where we have the request user ID, that's the logged in user, and the receiver ID. Okay. Now, if we do not have any conversation, then I'll return next, new HTTP error, and I'll say you have no conversation with this person. And I'll say whatever, maybe 404, who knows. I think that's pretty accurate. Not found, basically. So now we can go ahead and actually get the messages between this receiver and then the logged in user, right? So I'll say messages should be equal to await message model dot find, and I want to find conversation ID, and that will be the conversation that we just got, underscore ID. And once we have that, I'm actually going to go ahead and sort it. So sort, and I'm going to sort by the created at, and it's going to be I think, yeah, it should be like this. So no need to even sort it then, right? I'll just leave it for now. All right, so once I have the messages, I can send that back to the client in a JSON response. Perfect. So now let's go ahead and try this. I'll just have let me copy an ID of Jane Doe. You know what? I'm going to copy an ID of someone else. So Daniel, for instance. And as you know, I have not sent any message to Daniel, right? So let's go to get messages. I'm going to paste Daniel's ID here as the receiver. I have to, of course, have my token. So authorization bearer token, and I'm going to paste. And now let's send this and see what happens. You have no conversation with this person, right? And that is true because I truly have no message sent to Daniel. Now I'm going to copy the ID of Jane, and remember I sent a message to Jane. That's the only conversation or the message we have. So I'm going to send this, and now I should actually have this. So I have the messages between me and Jane. Now I can of course go ahead and create another message. So I'll say this is Achieve's second message to Jane, and I'll send this. Perfect, that has been sent, and now I should have two messages in this array, and I do have it. All right, so that is working perfect, and so we should move on to the next controller, and that is the get conversations controller. For this one, I'm just going to go ahead and paste it and then explain it a little bit. So basically, I'm just getting the conversations using me as the logged in user being part of that conversation. I hope that makes sense. And I'm actually populating to get the full name and the profile, because I want to show the full name and the profile picture for each conversation, right? And once I get all the conversations, I'm going to look through and make sure that I'm not getting conversations which ID is the same as my ID. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and actually test this out. And of course, I should send something as a JSON response. So I'll say response.json, and I'm going to send the conversations. And I hope you guys understand what's happening here. So let's go ahead and actually try getting our conversations. I'll just copy the token here, bearer token, and then paste it. And I'm going to send this, and I should have all the conversations that I have partaken. And as you can see here, I've had conversation with only one person, and that is Jane Doe. Okay, so you can see the last message right here, and you can see the full name and the profile picture of the person I had the conversation with. I hope that makes sense. All right, so of course, if I should check that URL, that should be Jane Doe's profile picture, right? So everything is working exactly as expected, and we are completely done with our message controllers now. I'm sorry guys for the socket IO. I'm not going to explain anything right now, but I think in the next tutorial, right after this project, we are actually going to create a whole chat app, okay, a whole chat system, maybe with video calls and all that. So I will take my time to explain everything in that video, but here I'm just going to go ahead and create a socket.js file and then paste what I have. All right, so this is the code you need for the socket IO to work. Okay, we are not going to have any complicated chat system for this project because this is a full, a full-blown social media app. I don't want to have a crazy chat system here, right? But as I said, in my next project, we are actually going to create a whole chat, system, a whole chat app that's going to have video calls. But one thing I want you to pay attention to is this get receiver socket ID. Okay, so we want to emit the message. Once the message is being created, we want to emit that message to the receiver, right? And so we are going to use this get receiver socket ID to help us do that. So we will come back to the message controller, and right after sending the message, I'll say receiver socket ID should be equal to get receiver socket ID. Okay, so we are bringing in that function from socket.io, and as you can see down here, we are actually exporting that, right? We need to pass in the receiver ID that we have in here, getting it from the params. Now I'm going to check if receiver socket ID is actually available. If so, then I'll say io.to, and we have to bring in io as well, and that should also be coming from socket. So io.to will pass in that receiver socket ID, and we are going to emit that message. Basically, we are going to send that new message to the receiver. Now there should be a comma, and that's it. That's all you need to do for the person you are chatting with to receive a real-time message once it is sent, right? I have to check to make sure. Yeah, so I'm getting the IO, I'm getting the, of course, in the index JS, we need to do something here as well. I'm going to bring in server and app. So I have app here, that is the Express, and I have server here as well, that is HTTP create server. So I'm going to bring in those two, and instead of app.listen, I'm actually going to do server.listen. Okay, so we have the server, and this app that I have here, I'm actually going to get that from the Socket.io app. Okay, and everything should work exactly as we expect. All right, so go ahead and type everything here in the Socket.io. This is all you need, and there's a few more corrections that I need to do in the post controller. That's, I think, the get post. Since we have our comments, I'm actually going to go ahead and uncomment this so that we can populate our comments once we get a single post. Okay, and the comments are going to show in the post details page, right? So that is one correction I need to do, and I think the last correction I need to do before we get on to the next part of this video, that is the client side. Before we get to that side, I want to get the comment model and actually have a timestamp. Okay, maybe we are going to need it, I'm not sure. Of course, in an object, I'll say timestamps and set that to true. Right, so that is all for this second part of the video, okay, of the tutorial. And in the next part of the video, we are going to work on the client side and make sure we connect the client side to this API that we've worked on. All right, so I'll see you in that video.